We're going to call this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Solid Waste Authority to order on November 9th, 2017 at 3:01 p.m. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Good afternoon, directors. Ashby, Carr,
Here.
Frost, here. Kennedy, Peters, Cerna,
Here.
Guerra,
Here.
and you have a quorum.
Great, thank you. If everyone could please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and we'll go and ask the clerk to please read the announcement.
Yes, this meeting of the Solid Waste Authority is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Saturday, November 11th at 4 p.m. and Monday, November 13th at noon on Channel 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the back of chambers and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. If you have any electronic devices, please silence them at this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and go with the first item.
Item number 1 is General Manager's Report.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you for attending. I don't have a report at this time.
Great, thank you very much. We have items on the consent calendar here. Is there a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved.
It's been moved by Board Member Carr. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Board Member Kennedy. Is there any comments from the public? Did we get any comment cards on the consent item?
No.
No comments from the public. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, consent item passes. We'll move on to the next item.
Okay, item number 4 is Street Recycling Container Collection Service Agreement.
That's cue. That's a cue to staff for a staff report.
Yeah,
That is.
if there's any.
Good afternoon.
No, use the
tube.
The tube there.
Yeah. Eric, are they on?
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Now we got you on.
Okay, thank you.
Get this down.
Good afternoon. We are here to request that you accept the proposal received from Allied Waste Services of North America. This is for the street can recycling containers for the same service area that the board previously approved and has been on the ground for since last February.
Great, thank you. Again, this was following up on our 2 prior meetings, and now we're moving forward with the actual action on the contract. Is there any questions from there? I have no comment cards for item number. Actually, I do have for number 4. I have 2 for number 4 here.
I have a question of staff, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want to do after comment or?
I did probably.
Okay, good. We'll start off with Tony Sakata, and then after that with Jameson Parker.
I have one question of staff.
Yes.
Have we reached out to Regional Transit on this program at all, or for future phases?
We will. We have had conversations as part of the illegal dumping and the conversations we've had with the P-bids on that. I actually have a meeting scheduled next week, but this is separate from the recycling street cans. But the rollout of the other phases that are being considered are being done in consultation with them as well. In particular, the meetings I've had have been with the Stockton Boulevard Partnership,
right.
And that's where they were quite. Because our cans are very much scavenger proof as opposed to the cans that are there right now, and they're ready to replace those cans.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Okay, we'll go ahead with the speakers here. We have 3 now. Tony Sakata, then we'll go with Jameson Parker, and then Eric Crane.
Hey, Chair Guerra, board members, Tony Sakata, General Manager, Republic Services. We just want to thank SWA staff for recommending us for the recycling street cans in downtown and midtown. and look forward to the possible opportunity of providing that service. We think that the solid waste can service has gone quite well, and staff has done a great job working with us on that. So just really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr. Scott, I just wanted to say I've gotten feedback from the merchants and business people in the downtown area where we are, and it's been nothing but glowing reports. So thank you for your work.
Awesome, thank you. Awesome, thanks.
Yeah. We want to get those kind of glowing remarks in Stockton Boulevard too. So, okay, Mr. Parker.
That's me, Jamison Parker with the Midtown Association. I'll second those comments, Supervisor. I think that Republic is a great candidate for taking on this extension of the service that's already being provided. One thing that I do want to try to make sure that we clear up, in the first rollout when we had these trash receptacles put into the district, we were operating under the assumption that organizations like PBIDS would be able to work with solid waste and do some creative projects with those cans, do some public art, wrap them, do something, a little bit of creativity with those cans. We've been working with staff to try to understand that process. Up to this point, we haven't been able to understand what that process is to work with the Solid Waste Authority to wrap those cans. So with us doubling the inventory in the public right-of-way, we really want to try to put some art on those cans. So any direction that could be given to work with us on that, I think would be great.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Mr. Parker. We'll go with Mr. Crane.
Good afternoon, Chair Guerra and SWA board members. I'm Eric Crane, policy advocate for the Downtown Sacramento Partnership, and we'd like to thank Republic Services for all the great partnership that they've provided with us, and wholly endorse awarding them this contract for the street recycling collection. Last year we worked very closely to make sure that those cans were put in certain spots, and we hope to do the same with the additional containers that will be added. We'd like to echo Midtown's comments that it's very important, we believe, that these containers can be used to beautify and enhance the downtown and Midtown area. We believe that wrapping them can be a key wayfinding and district branding tool as well. So we would greatly encourage, if staff are directed to reach out, we would love to work with them on that project. We've already started using some fun and creative ways to use those as a canvas for downtown. So we hope we can partner with SWA to make this process move forward, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. It looks like we had some good comments from the public about how do we make the cans look attractive in artwork, and in fact we had a fantastic example of public art in District 8 on the wrapping of some of the utility boxes. Are there comments from the board members?
Well, thank you, President Guerra, Chair Guerra. We did wrap the utility boxes. The big boxes that are on the intersections that control the signal lights, what the Sacramento Arts Commission got local artists for us. We put together several community groups to select both the artists and the artwork, and we have about 27 of those utility boxes wrapped with on Florin as well as MAC and Meadowview. So it really adds something to the community. I really, really like the way the project turned out. And if you want to know more about it, you can go to D8 Create, D and the number 8 and CRE and the number 8. And you can see the artwork as well as where the boxes are. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And if there's no more questions from the board members, I think that's, at least having that conversation with staff and finding what that process would be helpful. And I'll take that as direction for staff. Is there a motion from the board?
Move staff recommendation.
It's been moved the staff recommendation by Board Member Kennedy and then seconded by Board Member Carr. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, measure passes. We'll move on to the next item.
Item number 5, expansion of program support towards reducing blight and illegal dumping.
I would just like to clarify one of the comments that we made in the staff report. Under the background, towards the bottom of the paragraph, there's a statement that says this program was never implemented by the jurisdictions. Just want to clarify. We have, since the franchise fee was increased, there have been efforts on both entities, to both the city and the county, to use SWA funds for illegal dumping and blight issues.
Yep.
The original program, as I understand it, was set up where there would be work and an invoice, but the practical side of that is that the excess monies that we have are sent to the general funds, and the programs for both the city and the county are within the general fund. So the money is going into the pot to do that. It's just not earmarked as a SWA fund source, at least on the county side. I'm sure of that. I just want to clarify that because it's a little bit confusing the way it's worded here.
Totally understand.
So, and if you remember, too, from the illegal dumping standpoint, we've added city and county code enforcement officer and a SWA planning person and a SWA recycling coordinator that are working with the downtown businesses and the different organizations to work on illegal dumping and the signage and coordinate with the businesses on how best they can meet their recycling needs. And so that's all funded as part of the SWA, but the money is actually given to both general funds to fund those.
Good. Thank you very much. There is one comment from the public, and then I'll do that one, then we'll take questions from the board. Joan Baruki.
Good afternoon. Joan Baruki speaking on behalf of the R Street Partnership in the Greater Broadway District. We're generally in support of this item. Anything that helps the PBIDs with more resources, we'll welcome those. We did want to just throw out there for the board's consideration the need for the $100,000 going to a consultant study to figure out how to do picking up illegal dumps better. And we're just asking the board to consider, could we put that into services instead, something that we'd be able to feel more immediately. That's it.
Sure. Yes, Board Member Peters.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought it up because I was planning to ask about that. It seems like $100,000 could be spent by just hiring more people and providing more services. I'm not sure why we need to have a study. And I wonder if the PBIDs could, come up with their own comments on how to collect. Maybe we run it through the PBIDs in some way.
I'm sure we can
I
all
think there are
pretty
enough
much tell you.
PBIDs. You probably pretty much know what is
Yes.
happening in the trash area.
Yes, we can pretty much tell you where our hot spots are, where the issues are, what's causing those issues. And I know I'm speaking for R Street and Greater Broadway, but I'm sure the other PBIDs would agree with us on that as well.
Okay, Board Member Ashby.
Thanks. I had the exact same comment. I just thought $100,000 would probably be better served going into the districts to help with services as opposed to studying the issue, particularly when most of the PBIDs, I think, already have some type of trash collection, so should better be able to identify where those locations are. Might save us some money just to partner with them. I think that was sort of the gist of what I asked for last time was, why don't we work with the PBIDs to figure out where these dollars could better be utilized so we don't spend money on waste in terms of studying and instead put it to one of these great organizations that'll help us get it cleaned up. So I
guess my comment was a little bit different than that. I don't see this money being spent just in the PBIDs area.
Correct.
Countywide, citywide, that sort of thing.
I don't know that we need a study.
But they probably know, what kinds of things get dumped and, where it gets hidden and that kind of thing.
You're correct, Board Member Peters. And part of this issue is what do we do with the multifamily homes, the apartment complexes, and things like that.
That's the biggest problem.
And that's not an area that we've really tackled before.
Exactly.
And that's where the study is. There's a similar study was done in San Jose, and it really helped define out kind of where the material was coming from, and then helped with plans on how to correct the behavior.
When you say where the material was coming from, do you mean where it was coming from before it got dumped, or who was dumping it, or
kind of both? I mean, we know around apartment complexes, for example.
Why does that matter?
It's tenants.
It's still junk.
Well, no,
it's dumped.
But in terms of targeting where we're going to send code enforcement officers, I mean, if they're coming into an area, we know on a dead-end street, for example, that it's somebody that's driving in to drop that material off. But when it gets into the commercial areas, is it a business owner? Is it the neighbors? Is it people across the street? Is it, part of that is how we're going to help the code enforcement folks crack down on where it's coming from and then how to correct it so it doesn't happen again.
Is there anybody from code enforcement here today to talk about this? I don't know.
Nope.
Just one final thought. Sorry, Erica, but it just seems like, the city has code enforcement and the county. I don't know why we wouldn't just use those resources to better. First of all, I'm not sure I agree that it matters how it's exactly getting there for code enforcement purposes, because just word of mouth wouldn't give you the ability to go issue a fine anyway. So I agree. I just think the $100,000 is going to be better spent on cleanup than on a study. But it's just my 2 cents. I'd rather see us put it towards enforcement. And these illegal dumpings are so egregious in some areas, like District 2 of the city of Sacramento. I'd so much rather see them get $100,000 worth of enforcement as opposed to a study.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Kennedy, and then we still do have one more person on the speakers list here from the public.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily advocating for or against the $100,000, but I want to ensure that we go far beyond, and if it takes $100,000, I'm supportive of it, the P bids of kind of what Supervisor Peters said. I mean, I can tell you multifamily areas in the district that I represent are the biggest problem, and they are not within a P bid, and some not even very close to a P bid. So,
Right.
Okay, we have Mr. Lean on the last on the speakers list here.
Good afternoon, SWA. Board members, Mike Lean, L&D Landfill. Both members, Ashby and Peters, spoke to what I was going to speak to, so I'll keep it short and sweet. When I look at, even if you take, when I look at $900,000 being spent and you take the 200, I'm on page 404 of the staff report, and you take the 200 on line item 5 and now the 100 on line item 6, you're at 300,000 out of 900,000. It seems to me that a bigger chunk of the pie needs to be allocated for picking up the trash. And in terms of the details, you guys have hit them. I really don't have anything else to add. It's just that whether it's the P bids, whether it's county staff in terms of managing garbage and pickups and cleanups, et cetera, or whether it's the city, where things are picked up, where the hot spots are, I think these things are all charted. I think that they can come out, and I think at least on a starting basis, what we need to do is be spending a much higher percentage than potentially 1/3 of the money to go for actual cleanup. That's, and from our standpoint in terms of what we see in the Power In area, from the lean standpoint, I can tell you we could certainly, I'm not going to argue that we don't need more code enforcement. That would be very helpful on both the city and the county level. But, and I can further, switching hats as a member of the board and the executive committee of the Power and Alliance, we're spending about $125,000, $130,000 a year picking it up just within the P-bid area. And not only is the Alliance area larger than the P-bid, about twice as big, and we can't spend dollars picking up outside the P-bid area, we're not even coming close to keeping up. You could, I mean, I don't want to guess at how much it, there's this balance of what we could use versus what we need, and I would think that at least $100,000 in the Power In area would go to very good use. So.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lean.
I
want to, before I bring it up to Mrs. Peters here, I want to bring a couple.
Frost.
Sorry, Supervisor Frost. I wanted to remind some of the conversation that we had at our previous meeting, which was that we had money going back into the general funds, and at the same time, we weren't actually using the funds or specifically directing them to getting some of this work done. So part of what this item is to do that cleanup and trash. But I think Board Member Carr brought up a good point here. I'm elevating you to supervisor. But was that we need to find out a better strategy at addressing the illegal dumping that you see in the residential communities, in the apartment complexes, outside of the P-bids, along with the P-bids. And there are multiple sources of dollars that we're spending throughout the entire county, whether it's city, county. The P-bids are spending their own money. We're also, we have the Conservation Corps and a lot of the other entities that are spending money for cleaning up, and we don't know if we're actually tackling the issue. And for someone who lives near Stockton Boulevard, we have to figure out not only how to clean up immediately, but how do we tackle the issue? And this is, I think, a small amount to look at an analysis of how we, and particularly in areas that are both city and county, whether you're on Stockton Boulevard or up in South Watt or whatnot, that we address how do we go after the actual illegal dumping and solve this issue. We have to clean up immediately. That's why this is there for the immediate need. But yes, Supervisor Frost.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to ask. Part of the way I understand the rationale of wanting to spend it on services and cleanup, but also I think part of what we're trying to accomplish is to reduce blight and create opportunities for people to dump their garbage, a place where they can go to dump their garbage so they don't have to leave it on the side of the road. And so my assumption is that that's part of what that study does, and I wonder if you can tell me in a little bit more detail what that study in San Jose entailed and what were the surprises that they learned, or did you speak with them, and what it sounds like they had a good experience with their study. It got to the heart of the problem. So if you could share more about that.
Their study was conducted over a 6-month period and in 2014 and 15, and through this process they've actually put a central hub, because there were about 5 or 6 different departments. There was neighborhood development, there was the mayor's committee on gang violence and prevention that were involved with this. DOT picked up material in the right-of-way, and they also coordinate with San Jose State University, which had a large move-out period at the end of the school year. And they found that 40% of the material was generated by multifamily residents. There was 30% that was generated by single-family residents. Even though they had free bulky item collection programs and neighborhood cleanups where 20 of them would rotate throughout the city for about 3 years, they were still getting a large number. And after they implemented their program over a course of years, they saw reductions of 35, 65, and 70% in the 3 zones that they studied in downtown San Jose.
So it basically reduced the need for cleanup.
Yes, and they actually expanded a bulky item collection program for multifamily customers, which under a pilot, and they've eventually phased out a lot of their neighborhood cleanups where they put debris boxes in the 10 different districts, I think, down there throughout a 3-year period. And so they've also developed an application where work orders were processed, and it's very similar to the 311, but it was specifically for tracking work orders and when the material was collected, and actually tracking the volume of weight and the type of material that they were getting. And about 19% left over was just from people driving through and depositing something on a street corner. So, not saying it's reminiscent or be identical to each city, because that's what the study did address, saying you may not find the same circumstances, but they went for a multi-prong approach and worked with the different departments.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Well, I'd support the staff recommendation. From our last meeting, it was going to be only just for cleanup, but I think the point, and I think that Board Member Carr brought up about finding a better way to maximize all of the resources that we have between the city and county, and actually going after to tackle the issue in both the apartment type commercial properties and P-bid areas, and figuring out how do we work together, how do we use all our resources together to have this. I think this is a good balance to make sure that we have the study, we do a little bit of enforcement with the pod, and then the cleanup with the organizations. But But with that, if there are any more comments from the board? Yes, Board Member Carr.
I'll second that motion. With the cleanup, with the legal dumping, I sort of feel like a hamster on a wheel, that we're constantly picking up trash. I spend many of my Saturdays in neighborhoods picking up trash. We have 2 collections a year available for each resident, and they can call in and schedule a pickup, but it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. It seems like you could spend your whole day just picking up trash. So I do think it's time for a comprehensive look at what we're doing and how we're doing it, and if there's something we can do better.
Board Member Cerna.
Thank you. I too plan on supporting the motion, and couldn't agree more with Director Carr about the frustrations we all face when it comes to legal dumping in the city and the county and our respective districts. As of late, I don't know if anyone else on this board is experiencing it, but I'm receiving a number of constituent complaints about the twice yearly coordinated pickup, that that's not even being coordinated very well, that when they call to establish an appropriate pickup time, they're placed on hold, or there's an excessive hold time period on the phone. They're not getting phone calls back if someone can't give them a definitive answer about dates and times when they call. And I know that's not necessarily the purview and expectation that our SWA executive director is going to be tasked with looking into, but I do think we kind of need to take a deep breath, figure out with city code, with county code, and with SWA, what is the best deployment of resources so that that doesn't happen any longer, that we reduce the amount of time in getting our respective 311 complaints addressed. That's the other thing that drives me absolutely nuts as someone that frequently uses our county 311 system, is the amount of time from when we actually report to when it's actually cleaned can be sometimes measured in weeks, not days. And I understand that the men and women of our respective code enforcement agencies have a lot to do, have a lot on their plate, but I know that this is something we can do a better job at. I think with the motion and the application of SWA resources, that's what we should expect. And quite frankly, Mr. Chair, I think that we ought to be getting some regular report backs in this setting, as well as in our respective city council meetings and board hearings about the effectiveness of kind of this comprehensive approach to tackle illegal dumping.
Agreed. Board Member Peters.
Thank you. Doug, can you tell me, if I'm looking at the item 1 on page 4, additional city and county code enforcement staffing. So we don't know, I think I understood you say, we don't know if each of those jurisdictions actually have a person doing the work that this money was for. Is that correct?
No, both with the city and the county, there are designated commercial code enforcement officers that are working in the commercial areas, specifically on illegal dumping and whatever issues that are there with the businesses.
So my assumption was correct? That they're not doing this cleanup work?
You mean in terms of,
Well, I mean, code enforcement does a lot of things. I mean,
right.
Houses that are falling apart and you know, barking dogs and all kinds of things. So, marijuana enforcement. So, you know, I guess I want to know what these officers that were hired with using this money, what is their job description?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. So I can speak to the county side. On the county side, if a code enforcement officer goes out and finds an illegal pile, they route that through the 311, and the Waste Management Department will go out and pick those materials up. So but your first sentence there says, so if they're out and about, so that I think this money was set aside to specifically look for trash on the streets and the creeks and behind buildings and that sort of thing. Well, the SWA monies, the code enforcement officers that are paid for by SWA are supposed to be concentrating in the commercial areas. Whether it's the PBID areas or whether it's other commercial corridors, that was their function, was to work on the SWA area. because that's where the franchise
but
fees are
somehow,
generated.
maybe I'm not saying it right. I want to know if those code enforcement officers are focusing just on trash.
It's not just on trash. It's whatever issues that they find in the commercial corridors. So if they have an abandoned car, they're going to focus on that. If they find trash, they're going to be able to report that in and get that taken care of. But their job as a code enforcement officer, they have a lot more leeway in terms of dealing with some of the other issues that come up besides trash. But as a priority, we've asked them to identify any illegal piles so we can get them picked up.
But is that incidental to like the task of going to look for an abandoned vehicle? So that if that's their motive at the beginning of the workday, is they're going to go look for abandoned vehicles. If they happen to see illegal dumping along the way, then that's the only way it gets reported?
No, I wish Barry were here because he could explain on the county side. My understanding is that they're in a commercial corridor. Whatever they find, whatever they work with, part of what we do is with EMD. So EMD does business inspections for compliance with recycling. If there's issues identified, then we have a code enforcement officer that could come out and lend some support and help us deal with whatever the issue is. If they're in a commercial corridor, if they're on Watt Avenue and they see an illegal pile, then it's getting reported. If they see an abandoned car, then they have a way of reporting that too. It's all the things that encompass a code enforcement job. Their specific tasks, though, if they're funded by the SWA, their specific area of responsibility is not the residential areas, it is the commercial areas.
I got the commercials. I thought that this was supposed to be more focused on trash in the parking lots, trash behind the buildings, trash. RT leaves lots of trash at their sites, their bus stops. So
It's okay.
So in the case of a 311 report that reports a pile in the back of a shopping center, that would get referred over to code enforcement because in some cases your department doesn't have the authority to go onto private property.
So this person, are you saying, is sitting in their office waiting for a 311 referral?
No. My understanding is they're out in the field all the time. And they respond as issues are called in or reported on 311.
Okay, board member.
Just so you know, I'm going to be in touch with Mr. Chamberlain and find out to my satisfaction what the person is doing. Because I don't think, there are other issues that go on in commercial establishments. Trash is the one, however, that I think spurred the desire to spend money on this. So we'll see.
Board member Frost.
Doug, I was wondering, does this in any way include extra resources for RVs, or is that a whole separate item that we're working on?
It's a separate issue.
And we're working on it?
Slowly, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board member Peters, the code enforcement officers, I think with the resource, first of all, at least for the city side, they're stretched all over the place. And we had I spoke to our code enforcement officer, our director for that, and they also go out to apartment complexes, and those sometimes are you'll see a lot of trash that'll be around apartment complexes, and I've heard it from Supervisor Kennedy and Cerna here multiple times. But a code officer can also go out there and penalize or at least try to address the problem that's happening at that apartment complex. So while they can't go into the single-family residential, they can start actually doing some immediate attention to the business that's not managing their trash. Board Member Cerna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to suggest that perhaps at our next meeting, or maybe the first one of the year, might be a good time to have our respective code enforcement
That's a good idea.
Agency heads here from both the city and the county. Obviously, we'll have our executive director for SWA here, and give us a presentation on how it all works together. We have these PBID areas, commercial corridors, that obviously extend in unincorporated areas and unincorporated areas. So we have a mutual intent and desire to make sure that we're firing on all pistons here, and I think it would be useful to have everyone literally in the same room to hear the same thing about how our coordinated efforts are working or what we could do better. That way it's not a kind of a piecemeal conversation between one SWA board member and their agency's head. We're all hearing the same thing in the same place, and the public could chime in as well and hear from us what our concerns are, where we think the opportunities are to do a better job. But I think it's high time we have a comprehensive conversation about it.
Good. Thank you, Board Member Cerna. Board Member Kennedy.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I would also like to, at the same time, visit. We adopted a series of ordinance changes in the last year and a half to address a lot of these issues and how that implementation is going and what the results have been.
Great, thank you very much. I think that exact conversation is what spurred the need to do this RFP to make sure that we're being the most effective. I got Board Member Peters and Board Member Ashby.
Yep, I think I would like to hold off on the study until we hear back from our code enforcement officers.
Oh, sorry. Board Member Ashby. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually agree with, I don't remember what we call ourselves here, board members, Supervisor Cerna. I think that's really smart. We should get all the right people in the room, but I don't know why we would spend $100,000 before we do that. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to support the motion if it includes the $100,000 expenditure because it sounds like a waste of money. But if we take it out and you have that conversation first, maybe then it will make more sense.
Yeah, Board Member Carr.
Is there any time sensitivity on this?
No.
Why don't we take it out?
I think it's reasonable. We got 2 members who want more information, that we schedule the full presentation next time.
When is the next meeting?
March.
Oh, how about January?
Yeah. See, this, and I think this is where I'm going to ask that we actually move with the RFP. In fact, I mean, the purpose of having this study is to actually get people in the same room. In fact, I had actually scheduled a meeting with our code enforcement officer and our county code enforcement officer, and through random conflict, the county officer couldn't make it at the time. But my point is, the longer we wait on actually getting the information and getting stuff going, I mean, we're going to have that meeting in March, and then we're going to do an RFP, and next thing you know, it's going to be June, and at the same time, we're not trying to actually get data and information. So I think it's worth time to move forward.
I think I can't pipe in because I still have the floor, sorry. But I think the problem with that is, Eric, is it's not clear that we would still need to do the RFP after we brought everybody into the room. Maybe the right direction is to have that meeting in January instead. It seems like a waste of money when we haven't had the conversation. I think Supervisor Cerna is so right. And there's all these efforts, and Supervisor Kennedy for that matter. He's talked about new ordinance that are in place, and the city's done a lot of this too, especially because of the marijuana discussion. We've put a lot of resources into code enforcement that are being implemented differently than they were in the past. I just think it's worth having a conversation before we spend $100,000 that could go into services.
Sure. Point well taken. I'm still going to be urging that we move forward with the motion, because it's not just our city and code enforcement, it's the SWA and the SWA resources. It's also an analysis of what every single PBID is doing. They're spending a lot of money out there already. And other groups that are actually doing some of this cleanup, whether it's the Parkway Foundation that's spending money on there. So it's the bigger issue of how do we tackle illegal dumping. That's what the study is intended to do. And I would like to actually get the actual data and the conversation going now, rather than wait 6 months, half a year to that. Yeah.
I agree with everyone.
So what are we voting on?
There's a motion, and I'll move the item, and then Mr. Carr, would you second? You'll second it. And at this point, I guess if there's no other comments, we'll ask for a vote.
So are we including the 100,000?
Yes, it'll be the staff recommendation. We have Supervisor Kennedy?
No, I'm just going to suggest a roll call vote.
Okay, good. Then it's the staff recommendation. Yeah. It'll be a roll call vote.
Yes. Okay. Director Ashby?
No.
Carr?
Yes.
Frost?
No.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Peters?
No.
Cerna?
Aye.
Guerra?
Aye.
And motion passes.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to item, the next item.
Item number 6 is adoption of fiscal year 2017-18 mid-year budget adjustment.
Members of the board, when we last met, or actually 2 months ago, we were challenged with coming up with some additional ways of dealing with some of the illegal dumping. We were challenged with coming up with budget revisions. We have for you a budget revision of $900,000 that includes some additional code enforcement staffing, media outreach portion, the dumping analysis, physical installation of physical deterrence, which is really cameras. So that will greatly assist the code enforcement folks in identifying who some of the worst offenders are. A contract for some on-call dump site services, and an expansion of the litter street cam program.
Okay, there are no comment cards from the public on this item. If not, then I'll ask for a motion to move the item.
So moved.
Been moved by Board Member Cerna, seconded by Board Member Kennedy. Any other comments from the board? If
Yes,
not,
I'm going to be voting no on it because it relates to the last
correct.
issue.
Okay.
Oh, I have a question then. Oh, this is just appropriating funds for the study. It's not spending it. So that's my understanding, correct? Well, we just voted on the study. I'm going to vote. I'm going to support it.
Okay, good. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, all right. 2 no, motion passes.
Last item are comments from the public.
Okay, comments from the public. We do have one comment from the public. We have Evan Edgar. All right.
Chair and board members, my name is Evan Edgar. I'm an engineer. I represent the compost industry. I was here a couple of months ago talking about how the emperor has no compost. The reason I say that is that the claws back in town were exporting leaves out of county to compost, and meanwhile Farm to Fork just got done, and we're importing compost from out of county to grow food. And I showed up today because the March 8th date is coming up. You won't meet again until March, and I was concerning there's so much to do. The CARB with Supervisor Cerna will be adopting the AB 30 scoping plan. They'll have an impetus to divert 75% of all organics from the landfill by 2025, plus with the Healthy Soils Initiative, to use that compost to sequester carbon in the soil. The reason I'm here today, I don't think Sac County is doing the job on composting at all. According to the numbers I passed out today, I did the waste analysis. We need 272,000 new tons of organics needs to be diverted by 2020. About 144,000 tons of greenhouse gases would be reduced. 420,000 tons of new organic tons by 2025, and 450,000 tons by 2030, with about 240,000 tons of greenhouse gas being reduced. This is a huge issue. I was part of Green Cycle 10 years ago. It bombed out. It was only for 100,000 tons per year. We need 4.5 Green Cycles. The reason it bombed out is that the people I represent, we had a valid bid for $60 a ton. To have air quality regulations, to do it right, to add food waste, you need about $60 a ton to make compost in Sacramento County. Statewide, I represent over 50 compost facilities. Because the Kiefer Road's at $30 a ton, the choice is to have cheap disposal capacity, have methane leak from the landfill with a 25% leakage rate. We should instead make compost. So I'm here today just to let you know that Cal Recycle will be adopting regulations for SB 1383 with the Air Board in order to have methane reduction. This is a climate reduction bill in order to capture the methane from the landfills, don't put organics into there, and make compost in Sacramento County. Green Cycle is shelved. It's not coming back. Meanwhile, I got plans to haul out green waste to Yolo County, San Joaquin County, back hauling compost. This is a huge lift. And to wait till March to have another discussion, I haven't heard much from SWAT staff for years on this. It's kind of embarrassing to have the Farm to Fork capital have no compost. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edgar. Yes, I think every jurisdiction has going to have a challenge with this. Mr. Cerna.
Thank you. I think the speaker brings up a good point, and while March is a ways off, I think it should be incumbent upon our executive staff to appropriately agendize this for consideration by this board. So I'd like to see that on the next regularly scheduled agenda. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Any other comments from the board? Okay. If there are no comments from the board, we're going to be adjourned at 3:45.
Are you going to